When I first started writing this script, I was struggling with why I was writing it in the first place. But since finishing it, I think the reason for doing this has become much clearer, at least to me. And as simple as it sounds, it's because the show pisses me off. I will also admit to disappointment stemming from the expectation that this was going to be a silly documentary series like Ancient Aliens, which is something I was very excited for. But what I got was a campy reality show more like Swamp People. Now, that might not be a problem for other viewers, but it is a problem for me, because I did not have fun with the show at all. Any entertainment I got from watching The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, and subsequently making this video, is from mocking the execution. Let's get this out of the way now. I am a total skeptic when it comes to anything supernatural. I don't think there was anything beyond explanation occurring at Skinwalker Ranch. This feeling didn't affect my enjoyment or lack thereof while watching the show at all. As I alluded to before, I loved Ancient Aliens when I was younger just because I think the idea is neat. I never believed any of the stupid theories put forward in that show, and as memeable as Ancient Aliens is, you really can learn actual mythology from watching the show. I didn't get anything of value from watching The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch because I can't trust anything they state as fact due to the presentation, which I will elaborate on in a bit. All this to say, I guess I'm going to try to gain some catharsis by making this video. So the earliest concrete mention I could find of weird shit in the area is an article published by the Deseret News in September of 1978 about UFOs. I am going to be mentioning a few articles in this video, and all the links will be in the description. Anyway, the article says,
The Deseret News, September 4th, 1978. UFO sightings keep Uintah Base buzzing. Roosevelt. The Uintah Basin, already famous for numerous UFO sightings in the past 10 years, has been the stage for a great deal of excitement in recent weeks. Area residents say that at various locations and at times they have witnessed the flight of an awesome dome-shaped unidentified flying object with intense lights.
This article is a fun read. I love older UFO reporting. Now I do have one earlier mention, but I don't find it very convincing. At some point I acquired a book titled Scientific Study of Unidentified Flying Objects, the complete report on the study conducted by the University of Colorado under research contract number F44620-67-C-0035 with the U.S. Air Force. There's one case that details an alleged UFO photo taken in 1966 by an Air Force pilot while flying a C-47 about 25 miles southwest of Provo, Utah. This would be somewhere in the ballpark of 140 miles away from Skinwalker Ranch. I believe this is the photo detailed in the book, but I am not certain of that. Now, why did I mention all this? I don't know, get the fuck off my back. Maybe I just wanted to flex that I have a really dry book, and I'm desperately trying to justify me reading literally fucking all of it, okay? Anyway, reports of weird stuff happening on the ranch specifically didn't start until after it was purchased by the Sherman family in 1994. And it is really weird stuff. Terry Sherman, the then owner of the ranch, was interviewed, and I really wish I could find that interview, but I can't seem to. However, another Deseret News article written after the interview says,
Sherman told the Deseret News and journalist Linda Moulton Howe on a national radio broadcast that his family saw several types of UFOs, witnessed lights emerging from circular doorways that seemed to appear in midair, had 3 cows mutilated and several others disappear, and found unusual soil impressions in circles of flattened grass in a pasture.
I'm not going to bother dancing around my opinion on this. It seems to me that the Shermans leaned heavily into the weirdness that had been reported in the area, and either coincidentally or by design, their ranch became the center of all weird goings-on. Either way, it was a worthwhile interview for them because just months after, the ranch was purchased by Robert Bigelow, seen here in this meme I made. Now, despite what this disgusting excuse for a meme says, the ranch was purchased not for millions, but for $200,000. Adjusting for inflation, that would be about $400,000 today, and honestly that seems like a pretty bad deal for the Shermans. I'm not a rancher, so I have no idea how to judge the quality of the land itself, but for a property around 500 acres, there was no way I would accept that little. Regardless, a year prior, Bobby Bigelow had formed the National Institute for Discovery Science, or NIDS, a terrible name. This was an organization set up to further the research of spooky shit through a scientific lens. He set them all up on the ranch to record their findings. And honestly, I don't want to go further into it, because they aren't involved with the show. That's because in 2016, Bobby sold the ranch to Brandon Fugel, seen here showing his Wolverine claws to Doug Jessup. At the time of writing, this video has 562 views, and most of them are me.
The holding company that I set up to acquire the infamous Skinwalker Ranch in the Uintah Basin is none other than Adamantium Real Estate, which in other words is translated as indestructible.
What a nerd. He and I would be great friends. Brandon purchased the ranch for $500,000, which again seems like a bad deal, but at least Bobby Bigelow made some money out of it. And that, for better or worse, leads us to the start of our story today. Once Brandon acquired the ranch, the roads were closed off to the public and barbed wire fencing placed around the property. A few years later, the show, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, was greenlit, and filming began in 2019. The first season aired with 8 episodes starting in March of 2020, The Dark Times. It is that season of television that will be the subject of our video today. Let's introduce our characters, and I do mean characters. First we have Travis Taylor.
We are pegged.
He was brought onto the ranch to lead the investigation into the alleged phenomenon. I get the impression that he was told to crank up the accent and Southern boy charm a bit for the show.
A hornet's nest isn't interesting until you poke it with a stick. Okay.
Next up we have Eric Bard.
I am not here to believe, I am not here to disbelieve, I am here to observe.
He is perfect. I have no notes.
We also have a platform that I designed to which I've given the name Satan.
Eric is so adorable, I wish I could keep him in my pocket forever.
Eric loves this.
I do, I guess.
Then we have Jim Segala, a scientist.
Dr. Segala has been the scientist.
We are told that he was brought onto the ranch as a consultant after the ranch superintendent experienced a strange medical emergency that we will elaborate on later. Speaking of the ranch superintendent, Thomas Winterton. The vibe I get from him is the everyday working man type of character. Also there is Jim Morse, the ranch manager, and I'm not really sure what he even does. Last but not least, we have Bryant Arnold, but Dad calls him Dragon, so everyone has to call him Dragon. What is there to say about Dragon?
So we should see what happens when we do something like digging a hole.
No dig, bad dig. No hole dig, bad hole, dig hole. That covers our main cast. There are some other people we will meet, but I'm not going to waste any more time here. Let's get this shit started. We begin with a flash forward, and the problems I have are immediately apparent. We are shown a sequence of Travis rushing across the ranch to the corpse of a recently deceased cow. And we have to amp up the drama as much as possible for the intro, so let's pipe in some winded breaths.
Is there really a safe place on this ranch? We're quickly losing places that are safe to go on this ranch.
But then we go 12 weeks earlier to see Brandon holding a conference meeting with everyone in an effort to brief Travis on the situation.
Many of those professionals to this day refuse to ever set foot on this ranch ever again for the rest of their lives.
Really?
Literally.
They take this chance to show some of the evidence that's been collected on their cameras, and it's just not very compelling to me. This is by far the most interesting one shown, but I just have to take their word for it not being an identifiable aircraft. I'm not implying that they would fabricate any of this evidence. I'm just saying that none of this makes me believe that this endeavor is worth the time and effort. Who knows how much money and manpower has been put into observation on this ranch, and the best we have is some lights near a mesa? Brandon then drives Travis in a Lambo to the airport.
So Travis, tell me honestly, do you think I'm crazy?
And we helicopter our way to the ranch finally, getting an aerial tour of the property.
A lot of the activity, for whatever reason, seems to be centered around the old homesteads. These over 100-year-old structures.
No shit, Brandon. Of course most of the alleged activity is going to be centered on the places where there are people to allege it. We also get to see the control room, which is admittedly very cool. Strong guy-in-the-chair energy, which I love. During the tour, Jim Morse tells a story of when he saw some mysterious creature, and the dramatic recreation of it is just wonderful. Reminds me so much of all the Monster Quest I watched as a kid.
And as he was combing the rocks, he pointed out 2 big red eyes. It looked at me, and then it left.
Then we are introduced to the bulk of the content of the show. Men just standing around being excited that this thing is making a noise. And this is such a little thing, but the editing makes it so obvious the noise is being added after filming.
You ought to check your tri-field meter, see what it's doing.
I'm getting a little tone from it.
A little tone? Well,
After the tour, the boys return to the command center for more high drama. Travis is laying out his plans for how to proceed with the investigation.
create a precisely controlled experiment where we're digging to this depth and to this size and this volume.
And start digging, that's the trigger. I have to unequivocally say, no digging.
It's revealed that Tom has experienced consequences of digging on the ranch. Of course, nobody entertains the idea that Tom has some kind of specific medical condition. No. It has to be as a result of digging on the ranch.
And it caused me a severe injury that to this day I'm still having some repercussions with.
Remember this for later. So they call Dad, and Dad says no dig.
They want to dig.
I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that.
Brandon asks Eric if he has the case.
I understand. Eric, do you happen to have the case?
And they treat it like some secret amazing thing, leaving us with a cliffhanger as to what's in the case.
I think you'll understand soon why this is a matter of really the highest level of seriousness and sensitivity.
Spoiler alert, it's a magnet, and nobody bothers to explain why this means we can't dig.
What does this have to do with not digging on the ranch?
But let's not get too reductive here. Eric shows Travis an example of some interference he captured on a cell phone when first arriving on the ranch.
What would it take to make that happen?
Right.
Can I reproduce that effect?
He was able to replicate the interference with a powerful magnet, and this gave him the suspicion that somewhere on or under the ranch was a source of powerful electromagnetism.
I've yet to hear anything tell me that this magnetic field thing is a reason not to dig.
These scenes of the guys all arguing at the table are probably my favorite parts of the show.
There's no data that's been on the table that tells digging is correlated to anything that causes events.
But a lot of the things bad happen more often when you dig.
I can understand being cautious, but this feels very forced to me. It's like they are trying to hype up whatever they might find while digging. But what the hell did they expect to find in the first place? An alien spacecraft or something?
We have some evidence, at least, to support the idea that there may be a magnetic field generating device located on or beneath this property, or perhaps above it.
Either way, the bickering stops, and the next day the boys find an interesting hole.
We get up there, and there's a hole in the ground.
We actually got a really high hit on our VOC levels. About 3,600 parts per billion, which is a really high abnormality.
The monitors detected a rise in volatile organic compounds in the air. 3,600 parts per billion is the number they were throwing around. I was unfamiliar with VOC levels prior to doing my own research for this segment. From what I was able to find, everything they say about it in the show is reasonable. 3,600 ppb is in the range of what the World Health Organization considers dangerous. Okay? So why am I going to such a length to just agree with what was said in the show? Travis jumps down into the hole just 'cause, I guess, and begins to feel somewhat dizzy and lightheaded.
I felt like I was not holding my balance well for a second there. That's why I put my hand over on the rock. And I'm feeling it now, too.
The EPA.gov page on volatile organic compounds says,
as with other pollutants, the extent and nature of the health effect will depend on many factors, including level of exposure and length of time exposed. Among the immediate symptoms that some people have experienced soon after exposure to some organics include eye and respiratory tract irritation, headaches, dizziness, visual disorders, and memory impairment.
From what I can tell, the air monitor detected a dangerous VOC level, and then Travis experienced symptoms of being exposed to a dangerous VOC level.
Starting to tremble. I'm feeling kind of shaky.
That's not all right.
So why are we treating this as some mysterious event in the show?
I'm convinced that whatever came over me while I was down in that cave had nothing to do with oxygen deprivation or toxic gas levels.
Then Travis's phone dies.
One day my phone battery just went...
Your battery's dead on your phone?
Yeah.
Huh.
Your battery's dead too, ain't it?
It shut off.
This kind of weird battery stuff will happen again, and I will spend more time on it later. We move on to the setting for high drama in this episode. The boys
decided to do a good old-fashioned stakeout near the mesa.
This stakeout entails shooting a laser at the mesa for reasons. The way Travis says this makes me think he is trying to convince me he wasn't the Skinwalker all along.
As humans, we're only able to see light in a relatively narrow spectrum.
Once they shoot the laser at the mesa, they get all excited because there is a reflection of the laser in the thermal imaging camera. But oh no, as fate would have it, the laser...
It shut off.
Whoa, where'd that laser go?
Tom and Jim then notice a glow in the thermal imaging camera around the mesa. Oh, but that is not where the excitement ends.
Kind of looks like
Did you hear that?
Yeah. Like a growl or something?
Yeah.
I did not add that sound effect. This is as it appeared in the show. How can I possibly take any of this seriously when this is how it is presented? As for the glowing, it seems pretty obvious to me that it's the fucking sun. Then they even admit that...
Well, we better hurry because the sun's going to be up
sun is coming up soon.
Now to round out the drama, Tom begins feeling a pain in the back of his head. I don't want to downplay how serious this condition might be. I'm obviously not a doctor. However, the show treats this as some mysterious event when before Tom himself said,
and it caused me a severe injury that to this day I'm still having some repercussions with.
This is where we are told that Jim Segala, our scientist,
Dr. Segala has been the scientist,
was originally brought onto the project to be a consultant to figure out the source of Tom's original injury. His conclusion was that the effects were consistent with a radiation beam. This lines up with what I know about radiation therapy, at least, in that exposure to radiation can cause fluid buildup. The cutaneous radiation injury section of the cdc.gov page on signs and symptoms of radiation exposure says,
Early signs and symptoms of CRI include itchiness, tingling, skin redness, swelling caused by a buildup of fluid. Over time, other symptoms may develop depending on the site of the injury and the level of radiation dose to which the skin was exposed.
This is how upset the show made me. I started actually learning things to dispute their bullshit. Rationally, they send him to the emergency room and contact Brandon.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe that Tom's in the emergency room.
I bring this all up because it seems like the show wants to have its cake and eat it too, so to speak. This is treated as a serious medical emergency, which I think it really could be, but then 2 days later, he is back as if nothing happened. Brandon decides,
I need to get out there immediately. Let's pull everyone together.
And rushes to the ranch to hand out some biological sensors that can detect issues with your physiology. Brought to you by BioBeat. To proceed with the investigation, Eric brings in Derek. Derek is going to pilot a drone to take thermographic images of the whole ranch in an effort to find underground structures. Of course, this process was just a way to fill time for the episode, because they find nothing. But
it shut off.
No connection.
Derek leaves, and thankfully that allows us to have more footage of men being excited about beeps.
It's pegging out.
Pegged.
Oh my god, it's huge.
It is totally pegged.
Travis is holding his phone right next to the tri-field meter, and I refuse to believe it's not interfering with it in some way. That being said, this leads to what I think is the most interesting hypothesis they pose in the first season. They decide that the source of the readings is coming from the sky, so the boys attempt to triangulate the position of this source. I just had to take their word for it when they are saying these are the directions the signal is coming from, because I have to say, it didn't look like they were taking great measures to ensure the validity of these results, but whatever. Their next step is to fly a weather balloon through what they say is the position of this source. The balloon apparently goes right where it's supposed to be.
I love how it's going right towards the mesa.
Through the spot, too.
How lucky. But hark!
It shut off.
This is not updating.
That's strange to me. That's supposed to update every minute. It seems to have stopped.
Then Jim says some wild shit.
You can tell if a frequency or RF energy comes from the ground because it'll actually fall off as you go up. So what's disturbing is that it has to come from something off planet.
This leads them to their next step, which is to build a rocket. But before that, we need to hunt some ghosts. Travis and Tom head over to Homestead 1 to investigate noises the two caretakers have heard in their basement. The caretakers are friends of Brandon, by the way, Candace and Tom.
See if we could have a look down in that thing in your basement.
This is all just such a waste of time. A nothing burger of immense proportions.
Oh, what is that?
What is that?
It looks like rubble to me.
Yeah, it's rubble, but rubble from what?
Maybe it's from the fucking hole you guys just put in the wall so the camera could fit in there. I'm not gonna waste more of my time or your time on this. A week later, a few dozen cattle are brought onto the ranch to serve as biosensors. Their words, not mine.
Each cow we bring on is another biosensor that we can use for science purposes.
Kind of feels like they are hoping a cattle mutilation will take place. But more importantly, they want to start shooting rockets into the air. So Travis brings in a graduate student from his university to help build some rockets.
Welcome to Skinwalker Ranch.
Thanks.
Jim takes special effort to show that the cows are acting like cows, I guess.
All the cows just happen to come and look. Isn't that the craziest thing?
The rocket is loaded up with sensors and measuring devices with the ultimate goal of flying it straight through this point they apparently triangulated a mile above the ranch. They fuck up the first one.
Watch your head, watch your noggin. This rocket hasn't gone as high as it was supposed to.
And just as they are about to fire off the second rocket, Jim yet again points out the cow's behavior.
Look at the cows. That is the strangest thing.
The cows don't seem to be acting all that strange to me, but I guess I will just have to take their word for it. However, before you can think about that any longer, a literal UFO appears in the sky. As far as UFO footage goes, this isn't very exciting to me, but you bet your ass, if I were there I'd be freaking out just like these guys are right now.
We'd still see it if it was a plane.
What the hell was that?
Is that not crazy?
That being said, it is tough to believe the authenticity of all this because of the way it's all presented. Jim was clearly pointing out the behavior of the cows so as to create this mini narrative, right? Oh, look at how odd these cows are behaving. Something must have spooked them. Only for a literal UFO to appear in the sky moments after. This strangeness doesn't distract them from the rocket launch, however, much to Travis's excitement.
Good shoot! Yeah! Man, we may have real data. Wow, we saw a UFO. This is our hero rocket right here.
Meanwhile, Dragon is having a religious experience.
But right now, I actually saw what I would consider a UFO.
They don't want to waste this momentum, so they are going to shoot the rocket up once more. But as fate would have it, the UFO appears again. Eric sees no transponder data that correlates with the object they saw. The third launch is good, and the crew is eager to analyze the data as well as look for footage of the UFO on the cameras. I am very confused about this footage they show. It's made very clear that the object was present for less than 10 seconds in the footage, but previously, they were all gawking at it for much longer than that while launching their rockets.
That's it. 10 seconds. The speeds that it was traveling to get from point to point for 10 seconds, this thing could have gone all the way across our screen, but it didn't.
Enough of that, I guess, because it's time to look at the data from the launch.
Geiger counter data, we're looking at gamma hits before launch, can be compared to what we see during the flight, and then again to what we see on the ground.
The readings suggest an increase in radiation as the altitude got higher. Okay. Then Jim says this.
Normally, on anywhere else in the world, if you increase in altitude, you should see a decrease.
So, this is completely wrong, as I am understanding it. Unless I am entirely misconstruing what he is referring to here, it is completely typical to have a rise in gamma radiation as you increase in altitude. It was made very clear earlier in the show that they were testing for gamma wave signatures.
This is a gamma ray detector, and we've outfitted it to be as light as it can be and as small as it can be.
This section here of the cdc.gov page, Facts About Radiation from Space, says,
Cosmic radiation consists of high energy, charged particles, X-rays and gamma rays, produced in space. Charged particles react with the Earth's atmosphere to produce secondary radiation which reaches the Earth.
And this section of the EPA.gov page, Radiation Sources and Doses, very plainly says that radiation increases the more elevation you get. So what has happened here? I didn't even have to do any research to know this was complete nonsense as soon as he said it. How did everyone in the room and working on the show miss this? This is the kind of thing I was referring to earlier when I said I couldn't trust anything they say. Then Travis asks the camera where the gamma radiation is coming from, but like, dude, it's coming from space. Am I the crazy one here? This whole episode makes me consider if making this video is just a waste of time. But I guess I'm having some kind of fun doing this, so... They send the UFO footage over to Brandon and get him on the phone again.
I was not expecting this.
I just have to ask Brandon, then what were you expecting? You are spending God knows how much money on this endeavor, and are you saying you weren't expecting results out of it? At this allegedly unexplainable ranch? Let's take a moment to calm down. That was a rough episode, but thankfully we're heading into episode 5, which is one of my favorites. The episode starts with Travis being awoken by William the dog.
God dang it, William, what are you barking at?
Travis says he hears some screeching noise. So he checks the spectrum analyzer while narrating everything he does for some reason.
Turn this computer on. Alright, let's turn this thing on.
Turns out he's autistic. This didn't really go anywhere, but I guess it's weird. While discussing this odd noise with the crew, Travis takes the opportunity to present his theory.
But what if the only way to explain all these things is with a wormhole?
This blackboard is just so wonderful. You might as well have taken it off the set of some sci-fi movie.
But it's about the only thing that I can think of that could be responsible for everything that's been reported to have happened up here.
You sure about that? You sure about that? That's why?
Why the fuck is a wormhole the only explanation, Travis? Tell me. However, what he says next is what I was referring to when I said, this leads to what I think is the most interesting hypothesis they pose in the first season.
You've got a bowl that's the Uinta Basin.
Okay.
And it's going to focus like this big satellite dish. Whatever energy hits it, it's going to be focused back up to a single point.
I have never considered something like this happening naturally, but it makes me wonder if it does. Surely if this does happen, it would be something we see in places all around the world, right? Large craters or calderas would be the perfect shape for what he is outlining here. After doing a bit of research, I found this article on the building of a lunar crater radio telescope. While not a one-to-one, obviously, this would be employing the same general idea that Travis is proposing. Of course, like I said, you would assume this is something that we would see all over the world. A similar example might be the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico, which took advantage of the shape of the large sinkhole it was built in. Unfortunately, it did collapse in 2020. I just thought all this was interesting. Let's get back to this shit.
What if the Uinta Basin, it could be looking like a lens, and the source could be beneath it, and it could be underground from the center of the earth coming up and then being focused to a point?
I don't know how this is the conclusion you come to, especially after the satellite discussion, but whatever. Their next move is to use GPR and soil resistivity tests to see if they find anything underground.
Invasive activities like digging should be justified by less invasive methods.
What is determining the invasiveness of these methods exactly, with the spookiness in mind at least? It's apparently invasive to dig, but not invasive to use GPR to see what's underground? Whatever allows us to film, I guess. They fire up the GPR, but oh no!
It shut off.
Oh my gosh. This was fully charged, so it's a mystery.
For like 5 minutes, we just look at this battery level. Thankfully, the battery on one of the devices wasn't drained too much to render it unusable. Maybe the Skinwalker filled up on energy from the first one.
And now they're into the yellow section.
Then Caleb, who I have yet to introduce, shows that his phone is freaking out. I don't really know what to make of this, as I am a troglodyte who has no smartphone. I assume this is a weird thing to be happening. Google tells me this kind of thing can happen from water damage. This, of course, doesn't discourage them, and they proceed with their plans.
Dude, that is crazy.
The GPR technician sees things on the screen that seem to be confusing him, but I really wish they would explain what we are even looking at here. I just have to trust that this guy is being genuine. He says it's possible they are looking at an underground tunnel, but I am not really sure why this is odd. The team meets back up to see if they can corroborate their findings with the wider range equipment that had been on low battery earlier.
Did you see anything on that run?
Let me check.
Oh, look at this.
Jim, do me a favor and let the technician, who definitely knows what he is looking at, interpret the readings, please. Travis gets interested in a nearby well, and the show takes this opportunity to tell us about an earlier incident at this well.
As I circled around the back end of the homestead, I saw this person with his eyes closed. His eyes fluttered open. He says, well, that was strange. He says, I was paralyzed and then went to sleep.
Heedless of Jim's warnings, Travis bravely opens the lid to find some shitty water. However, Travis feels some lightheadedness yet again, and decides to check the dosimeter, which says he absorbed 123 millirads of radiation. So what does this mean? As shown in this section of the EPA.gov page on radiation terms and units, we can see that he absorbed about 1/10 the dose of a chest CT scan. He says it's like getting 20,000 full-body X-ray scans in an airport, which seems to pretty much line up with the research I did. The next day, Travis notices red spots on his head and hand. His doctor informed him they were radiation burns. This seems pretty serious. How could so much ionizing radiation have come from seemingly nowhere? Getting the chance to measure the GPR data, they had noticed a suspiciously saucer-shaped anomaly in the ground.
This thing is 1,000 feet long.
At least they are telling me it's saucer-shaped, because yet again, they aren't really explaining what I am seeing outside of saying parabolas and hyperbolas. This discovery leads us to the natural conclusion.
We gotta dig there. Or drill at least.
I love digging drama.
I'm extremely sensitive.
We know you are, Dragon. Then Jim upsets Dragon.
I'd like to see what your opinion is.
I don't have an opinion, Jim. Is that what this is?
The amount of sass on display here is making me randy.
You guys better take it, because apparently, because I'm not a PhD, I don't have a opinion at the table.
The only thing to do is get Dad's permission, so Travis and Dragon call him up.
Hey, Brandon. It's Bryant and Travis here.
I'm over here stroking my dick. I got lotion on my dick right now. I'm just stroking my shit. I'm horny as fuck, man.
Against all odds, Dad signed off on it, but Dragon will have his say.
This could change the whole trajectory of this investigation.
Or it could halt it in its tracks, Brandon.
After getting permission from Brandon, the gang decides to install more security cameras on the ranch. Kinda interesting that surveillance can be ramped up in the first place when your goal here is to capture evidence of the paranormal. We also see the ranch caretakers counting cows, which gives us another opportunity to point out the strange behavior of the cattle. I wonder if they are setting up for something later.
I mean, it's almost like they're scared of something.
Very strange.
To more important matters. Travis being affected by a large dose of ionizing radiation has convinced the crew to schedule another radiation sweep around Homestead 2. I like how incredulous this guy sounds as soon as Travis mentions he got radiation burns.
I got nauseous and a headache, and I had some burns come up on my body.
Really?
Of course, they find nothing.
Everything I'm seeing here is all just background. Yep, just background.
Which leads me to my next question. What are they implying here? For just a moment, I'm going to take the show at its word. Travis was seemingly dosed with a sizable amount of ionizing radiation, enough to leave 2 small burns on his body, and we will see later perhaps a more serious injury. But now we are spending all this time showing that the radiation sweep is only detecting background radiation. They are pushing this narrative that the ranch is hiding its true power or some bullshit.
At this point in time, there's no radiation.
It's almost like, the ranch is like messing with us. We go in there and they're going to poke us this time.
Again, if I trust that this was a real injury caused by ionizing radiation, the only thing I could guess at that caused it was a freak occurrence of radioactive material in the dust or dirt that happened to land on Travis's head and hand. It was shown earlier in the show that the ranch is in an area downwind of where atomic bomb testing occurred.
Nuclear fallout was thrown up into the sky. This is radioactive dirt. And a lot of those winds brought this radiation over the Uinta Basin, where Skinwalker Ranch is.
This seems like it could be an explanation, but I can only speculate with the information they have given me. There are plenty of examples of burns from radioactive dust, and none of the images I saw look anything like what happened with Travis. I will not be showing any of these images I found because they are pretty rough, but they are easily accessible with a quick Google search. I can agree with his doctor, though, in that they look similar to radiation burns seen from doing radiation therapy. But how could something like that simply happen at random? I have tried my best to explain this, but I just have nothing. They brought some alpacas onto the ranch.
We decided to see if our drilling operation, coupled with the introduction of an exotic type of animal, would help trigger some kind of strange or unusual phenomena.
I really don't like the tone here. Like I said earlier with the cows, it kind of sounds like they were wanting these alpacas to get mutilated. They are named Lionel and Jed. Should anything happen to them, I will be aggrieved.
So which one is Lionel?
The chocolate brown, yeah.
Jed is the lighter one.
Yeah, he's the blonde. He's 4.
I love how William got a little title in the bottom corner, too. I sure do hope this isn't setting us up for some drama later. I'm sure these are just cute animals that will chill out and be happy on the ranch, right? Right? Let's not let Lionel and Jed distract us from the mission at hand. In an effort to cover our bases, I guess, Jim Morse brings in a Ute spiritual leader, Larry Sespooch, to ask for permission to take soil samples. This whole scene with Larry makes me feel like I am watching a scene in a horror movie where the old wise man tells our protagonists about the evil they are facing.
We came and we hauled hay for this old couple, and it was this field right here. And so I asked them, what's the deadbolts and the dogs for? And they said, well, things come at night.
This isn't a complaint. I'm honestly kind of into it.
I realize I'm standing inside a big bowl.
I think it's more like a funnel. Everything comes to a point.
This prayer he does is really nice, actually, and I hope that I am not being lied to right now, which is to say, I hope Larry is an actual spiritual leader and not just some guy they thought could fit the bill. With that out of the way, we can finally...
whack these branches off.
No, we can finally start the drilling.
Yeah, this is on Brandon's mandate.
It certainly wasn't mine.
It's gonna be all right, Dragon.
If they are actually worried about what might happen from digging, are they not afraid of affecting these random people who are going to be operating the drill? They have made it very clear that they believe digging was apparently the cause of Tom's injury, right?
Who's gonna do the digging then?
Volunteers that don't mind the risk.
There's one person that knows the risk, and he's sitting right there, right?
So I guess we just don't care about the safety of these random drill operators. To nobody's surprise, they find nothing, no radiation, no UFOs. The drill reaches about 17 feet down, hits bedrock, and can go no further. So they drive down the road to begin drilling right beside Homestead 2. But before they can begin, let's crank up the drama again.
The whole power line's wobbling.
Why is that rocking like that?
The wire's going nuts.
It was violent.
What the fuck ever? How is this anything other than the wind? How fucking stupid do you think your audience is?
That was strange. I mean, maybe Tom and Dragon were right. Maybe we shouldn't have drilled here on the ranch.
Get Jim off of that radiation detector right now. I don't trust him with anything. They managed to get further than last time and find nothing. The only number I heard Travis say is 29 feet, but I think they went a little bit deeper than that. Either way, Dragon is still spooked.
Just because we didn't find anything today with the drilling process, that doesn't mean that things aren't going to happen as a result of us drilling.
Well, this was a pretty chill episode. Nothing out of the ordinary happening, just some nice drilling. Oh, and the alpacas as well. Almost forgot about them. Wait, what What's happening on screen? Okay. Is this real? Did this really happen? The injury certainly looks real, but the way they are talking about this and hyping it up to be as mysterious as possible is pissing me off.
They looked like dogs, but they varied in size.
Oh, you mean like dogs?
Like a whole group of something.
Luckily, we took great pains to stress that we have increased the amount of surveillance on the ranch earlier. So we definitely captured what attacked Lionel and Jed, my sweet boys, on camera, right?
Well, the unfortunate thing is this camera went down.
It shut off.
Not too long after what we're looking at right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, how inconvenient. Well, surely we have another one pointed at the alpacas, right? You all seem so interested in how the ranch would behave after bringing new animals here.
Are there any other cameras that might have picked up anything?
Yes. Let me bring this up.
This is the best angle we have. Uh-huh.
Okay, so you can see something in that pen.
No you fucking can't. I hate this. I swear to God, if somehow I learned that this injury to Jed was fabricated just for the drama, I'm gonna go nuclear. How could I not be worried about this kind of thing when this is how the situation is presented? You were telling me you scared the animal... No, fuck that. The dogs. You scared the dogs off and you don't know what they were? Have you never seen a dog? Of course you have. William has his own title card. We even have someone saying in an earlier episode that...
It's not unusual to hear growls and strange noises and stuff. It could be from a mountain lion or a coyote or even a pack of wild dogs. Even a pack of wild dogs. Even a pack of wild dogs.
It seems to me that the whole camera going down situation was contrived so as to make it not completely fucking obvious to the audience that some dogs attacked the alpacas. But I digress. The penultimate episode of the season begins with more ghost hunting nonsense. Thankfully, the show seems to understand how boring this is because their tests are interrupted by a spooky helicopter.
Hey, is there air conditioner on? Noise level seems a little wider.
What the hell? Helicopter.
They come to the conclusion that someone must be watching them. Watching the people who are currently filming a History Channel show.
Why does someone get a private helicopter and mount a camera and fly over Skinwalker Ranch?
I don't know, Tom. It's not like this is a ranch that is world famous for its alleged spookiness or anything. But enough wasting our time with that, we have finally caught up with where the season first began. Travis rushing across the ranch to a dead cow.
It's just dead.
As Caleb, who I've yet to introduce, begins treating the situation as an active crime scene. Tom's phone begins acting strangely. Caleb says his phone is acting strange as well. Earlier they showed Caleb's phone freaking out before the GPR was performed. But they show Tom's this time, and it doesn't seem to be doing anything that Travis says it was doing.
Tom's phone jumped through all the apps and his buzzing is acting crazy.
Yeah, that's what mine was doing.
Their toys all start beeping loudly again, and they use this chance to tell us they have no idea what's happening.
We don't know what it is, but we're seeing it with multiple instruments.
Is it really a safe place on this ranch? We're quickly losing places that are safe to go on this ranch.
This is followed by yet more pointing out odd behavior from the herd that I just have to take their word on.
I've actually seen experiments where insects were exposed to microwave radiation and they could detect it. I believe that the cows could probably have a similar capability.
I looked around for a good long while and could find nothing to suggest that animals can detect microwave radiation. I did find this study titled Assessment of the Possible Health Effects of Ground Wave Emergency Network. The Ground Wave Emergency Network, or GWEN, is a communication system that would be deployed in the event of a high-altitude nuclear event. One of the sources for the study does suggest that EMF frequencies can affect the behavior of animals, but that is mainly in reference to migratory patterns and animals with specialized receptors. Again, I just thought this was interesting, and it's not even talking about microwave radiation. I just figured I would share. Maybe I'm just taking every opportunity I can to stop talking about this boring shit.
Obviously, if the cow was diseased or something, that's something that could affect the rest of the herd. Or maybe there's something there that will give us some answers.
The vet gets called in and determines that the cow died due to stress-induced pneumonia. While the vet is doing his examination, Tom takes this opportunity to talk about cattle mutilations that have taken place. A lot has been said over the years regarding cattle mutilations, and I don't believe there is anything unexplainable happening with these events. I found a pretty great article on this titled Maggots, Mutilations, and Myth, Patterns of Postmortem Scavenging on the Bovine Carcass, written by P. Nick Nation and Elizabeth S. Williams. Granted, these events they are studying in this article took place in Alberta, but all the hallmarks are there. Missing body parts, lack of blood on the scene, and a mysterious lack of evidence from scavengers. However, upon examination of the 4 mutilation cases presented, the authors came to the conclusion that it all simply showed signs of animal scavenging. Interestingly, 2 of the 4 cases stated the cause of death as interstitial pneumonia, the same cause of death for our poor cow from the show. Of course, no mutilation occurred, likely because the cow was found shortly after it died, so no scavenging was able to take place.
I'm going to drop everything and come out myself.
Brandon decides it is best to come back to the ranch yet again, but this time, he brings journalist Linda Moulton Howe with him.
And I have an expert in this field that has, I think, better knowledge than anyone when it comes to cattle mutilations.
Now, particularly observant viewers will remember that name from earlier in the video, as she interviewed Terry Sherman prior to the ranch being sold. Linda has passed away since appearing on this show, and as sad as that certainly is for those that cared about her, I am not going to pull my punches here. Now, I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me on this, but Linda does not come across to me as a reliable source of information. She is either exceptionally gullible or she is actively spreading as much misinformation as possible in the UFO community. There are countless reports she made on the various radio broadcasts and shows she appeared on, but the big one that definitely ruined her credibility for me was Project Serpo. Honestly, from the reading I've done about Serpo, it kind of makes me want to do a whole video about it. A very, very simplified summary is this. A story began circulating around the internet in late 2005 of a secret space mission to the planet Serpo. Some kind of exchange program between a survivor of a UFO crash on Earth and some astronauts that were sent to the survivor's homeworld. It's complete nonsense, but Linda was reporting on it up until her death. So naturally, Brandon brings her onto the show to say some wild shit that doesn't help anyone.
Getting them in here was a relief. Nothing can get in here as long as it's secure.
But things could be coming from the sky.
Thankfully, this cow's death was captured on camera, and not only that, another literal UFO was seen above the cow. At the start of our final episode, we find the crew analyzing this video, and I'm not satisfied with their treatment of it. We are only shown 2 frames where this alleged UFO appears in the video. They say the video is shot at 15 frames per second, and in 2 frames the object moves across a portion of the screen.
Clearly it's behind the trees.
It's about 75 feet between tree that you see on the far right and the next tree to the left.
So if it's directly over the tree line, that means it moved about 1,000 feet in a second.
I have no fucking idea how we could possibly guess at that. Look at this footage and tell me how far away this could be. It could be on the lens, for all we know. And that is if this is an actual object at all. We've already been shown cameras getting electromagnetic interference from somewhere. Who is to say that's not exactly what this is? They spend a great deal of time conjecturing about the nature of the object.
If you look around the spot, there's an area that looks a little bit different.
Halo-ish.
How fast it was moving, what kind of craft it could be. Linda says that apparently you see this kind of behavior in cows all the time with mutilations. And not only that, it's apparently typical to see the draining of batteries around UFO appearances. I think now is as good a time as any to bring up a question that has been on my mind since the start of this show. Why is it that none of these power issues and electromagnetic interference problems seem to occur to any of the cameras that are filming the show? You could easily make the argument that, in the spirit of professionalism, they kind of edit out any incidents that may occur, but I would counter that if I were making a show to display the paranormal, I would go out of my way to provide as much evidence of that in the execution. Maybe in later seasons this idea is something they begin to play around with. If I am assuming that all the battery shenanigans they have shown legitimately occurred, then there is no way I would believe that nothing like this happened with any of the camera crew. It just doesn't feel like the kind of opportunity they would pass up on this show. They are willing to add terrible sound effects and inject drama, but not show glitches in the filming equipment. And if no glitches did occur, then my only response would be, how convenient for them. Enough of that aside, Linda thinks we are dealing with portals.
I think we are dealing with point to point. I think we're dealing with portals.
Dude, why? What an insane leap to go for, Linda. While they're cutting away, there's a drone shot and a bug flies in front of the camera. It looks just like the fucking UFO. To wrap up the season, Brandon gets everyone together a month after the cow was killed to debrief and analyze all the evidence that has been collected over the summer. He also brings the Attorney General of Utah here for some reason. The only new development brought up in this meeting is something I alluded to earlier. Travis continued to feel pain in his hand after the radiation incident, and his doctor found that he had 2 bone spurs in his finger that needed to be removed. I don't think I'm going to show it here because it's honestly pretty gross. That being said, nothing I could find online suggested that ionizing radiation could cause bone spurs, so I'm hesitant to link this to anything that happened on the ranch. Also, Jim starts talking about communicating with the phenomena. Ever since the elevation thing, I am so anti-Jim that this made me irrationally angry when he said it.
Why can't we communicate with them? So now that brings up all these moral issues.
With that, the season is complete. What is left for me to say? I have a few things, at least. The big thing I want to say now is that the show is poorly made. It's poorly edited and poorly shot. The people in it act overly dramatic, and more often than not, they come across as bad stage performers. Any of the science presented in the show I have to take with a grain of salt because of the way the show presents itself. I've already shown one egregious example of this with Jim. If you were making the show with the intent to display the unexplainable, then you should have taken great pains to ensure that everything was as scientifically valid as possible, and more importantly, that the editing on display was as impartial and legitimate as possible. No fabricating storylines or rearranging events to make it look more mysterious. But that clearly wasn't the goal with this show. The goal was to convince me that what we are seeing is unexplainable, while making a half-hearted attempt at explaining it yourself. Maybe in future seasons the show does a better job exploring this stuff. That's probably enough yapping from me. I had more fun than I thought I would making this, so if this video does okay, I'm strongly considering making a Season 2 video. If you would really like that, please leave a comment. Tell me. Leave a like. Subscribe.